I was there the morning everything went sideways in a courthouse parking lot in Riverton, paper cup of coffee in one hand, case files in the other, thinking about nothing more dramatic than parallel parking. Then a voice snapped the air clean in two. Hey, hey, you can't park there. It came hard and fast from a young cop with a square jaw and a haircut that looked like Discipline Officer Evan Hart. He was already marching across the asphalt, one hand hovering near his cuffs like an exclamation point waiting to happen. His target, a tall black man in a navy shirt and a gray jacket, standing calm beside a charcoal sedan that still ticked with engine heat. He didn't flinch, didn't apologize, didn't scramble for a wallet. Just breathed. I said you can't park there. Hart barked again, louder now, as if volume could turn suspicion into truth. The lot shrank to the size of their shadows. Hazard lights blinked. A jogger slowed. Phones came up, little red dots blinking like tiny sirens. The man looked up, steady eyes, steady hands, steady everything. Later I learned his name, Langston Reed. In that moment, he was just a quiet center that refused to budge. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, he said, even, warm, and somehow sharper than the shout that came at him. Hart's jaw worked. ID, now. Reed didn't move. Fingers open at his sides. No bravado, no fear. Just a man holding the line without raising his voice. You could feel the lot tilt toward them like a coin about to choose a side. Don't make this harder than it has to be, Hart said, dropping his voice into that low, dangerous register people mistake for control. A rideshare driver leaned out his window. Man, he looks familiar. Behind me, an older woman in a Sunday hat cream felt little satin bow slip to the front. They're about to handcuff justice itself, she said, not loud, but the words traveled like truth does straight. Act 1 didn't last long. Hart hit his radio. Back up to the federal lot. That word changes the weather. It says we've left the conversation and boarded the train to consequences. Within a minute, another cop stepped out from the far end, older, broader, across the shoulders, the kind of tired you carry in your posture. Officer Tom Rourke. He didn't rush. He placed a hand on Hart's shoulder, steady like a friend, easing you away from a bad decision. Evan, he murmured, slow down. Hart didn't turn. I've got it. The hand near his cuffs flexed. The crowd tightened, not closer. Just smaller attention makes its own fence. Reed watched Hart the way a builder measures a beam, checking integrity, not swagger. Last chance before I cuff you, Hart said. Reed's answer came soft, so we had to lean in. Be careful what you do next. Not a threat. A warning label. Once you open this, you don't get to put it back. You could hear the lot listening, turn signal, clicking somewhere, the faint whir of a car fan shoes scuffing concrete. Then Hart stepped, in one decision past wisdom. He grabbed at Reed's sleeve, cuffs ready. What happened next split the morning like sunlight through a blind. Something small and silver shot free, hit the pavement, spun once, twice, rang like a clean bell. The piece of metal settled in a halo of light. Even from where I stood, I could read the crest, United States Court of Appeals. The eagle seal looked like it had opinions. The older woman in the hat breathed, "Oh, my Lord." The rideshare driver whispered what we were all thinking. That's real. Hart stopped mid-motion. Color left his face like a tide. The cuffs slid from his fingers and clattered at his boots, authority losing its balance in one flat sound. Reed bent, no hurry, no flourish, picked up the badge between two fingers, like you'd lift a truth you don't need to shout about. He raised it to eye level, just enough to catch Hart's reflection in the polished metal. He still didn't say a word. That silence felt heavier than any lecture. It carried dark kitchens and desk lamps and decades of cases where words were sharpened until they could make a room listen. It carried the small, stubborn choice not to buy peace with a fear you didn't earn. It said, I know what authority is. This isn't it. Rourke exhaled, a hinge finally breaking free of rust. He lowered his hand. Hart's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again around nothing. His breath got loud in that way you hear in confessionals and hospital rooms. The older woman's eyes shone not triumph, exactly more like relief with a backbone. Reed finally spoke. Quiet, clear. Respect isn't a costume. Rourke nodded once. Sir, we didn't know. He didn't dress it up. Didn't hide behind procedure. Just put the truth on the table and let it be seen. Hart found a word, only one. Sir. It came out rough, still chewing its pride, but it landed where it needed to. Will you press charges? A reporter asked from the edge of the crowd mic, half hidden in her sleeve, like a secret she was trying not to ruin. Reed turned not dramatic, just present. He looked at the camera, not the reporter. Putting one man in a cage won't fix a habit, he said. Changing what we see, who we see, might. I felt the story lift off the asphalt right there. This stopped being about a parking space and started being about eyesight. Act 2 was the reckoning quiet necessary, the kind that doesn't trend so much as it lingers. Rourke cleared his throat. Years back, he said to nobody and everybody, I watched a partner go too far. No cameras, no witnesses. I said nothing. I'm not missing it twice. He didn't look for absolution. He just stood inside the consequence and owned it. Around us, heads dipped. The jogger finally took his thumb off the watch and let the time run, like stopping it would have been a lie. The rideshare driver pocketed his phone and stared at Hart. Not angry exactly, just expectant. The older woman, Ms. Delamay, I learned later, smiled the ghost of a smile. That, she said, is what a wake-up sounds like. Hart bent for the cuffs, then thought better of it. His hand hovered, retreated, like touching them might erase the lesson. He swallowed. He started, stalled, tried again. I was wrong. Simple. Bare. It looked like it cost something to say, which is probably why it mattered. Reed didn't gloat, didn't swing the badge like a hammer. He let the moment sit where everyone could see it and sort their faces out. Then he tucked the medal back into his jacket, like returning a book to the shelf, careful with the corners. The parking lot seemed to exhale. A breeze lifted the edge of a crumpled citation, rolled it once, set it down. Ordinary came back, but softer, like it had learned some manners. Act 3 could have been revenge. It wasn't. It was a win with calluses and restraint. Reed looked at Hart, not down at him, across. Let today be heavy enough to remember, he said. Hart nodded, eyes bright in a way that had nothing to do with anger. It will. Reed turned to the small circle we'd all become. Some uniforms ask for respect, he said. Some earn it. Remember the difference. The words didn't sting, they clarified. Like washing a window and finally seeing the street you've been driving blind. He started for the courthouse doors, steady pace, sure steps. The badge was hidden again, but nothing hidden about what it meant. Miss Delamay dipped her head as he passed, not a bow, not quite, more like the way you nod to a truth that finally spoke out loud. Rourke stepped aside without retreating, the hands open, as if promising the air itself that next time he'd move sooner. And Hart, he just stood there, holding the lesson like a weight that might, if he carried it long enough, make him stronger. The reporter tried for one more angle. Judge Reed, what do you say to people who think you should have shown your ID sooner, avoided all this? He paused on the first step, glanced back. If the only door to dignity is the one I have to unlock for you, he said, it isn't dignity, it's permission. He let that sit. Then he went inside to do the job that badge was really for. The lot stayed quiet a beat longer, like a sanctuary after the amen. No clapping, no cheering, just the quiet work of reckoning. The security guard next to me said to the concrete, we've got to do better, and I don't think he meant the department, he meant himself. A teenager in a hoodie put his phone away and kept both hands on a low stone wall, elbows locked, like he needed the earth to explain what just happened. On my way to the entrance, I looked back at the glass doors and caught our reflections. The crowd, the officers standing a hair apart, Miss Delamay, with the Sunday hat tilted just so. The lot looked the same, painted lines, dented bumpers, sun slipping up the windshields, but it held a different weight. Like the ground had decided to stand up straighter. Here's the part people will argue about in the comments. You can already hear it buzzing. If Reed wasn't a judge, would he have walked away so clean? Should he have pressed charges to make a louder point? Should Hart be off the street and are given the chance to learn in public the way he failed in public? That's the mess, isn't it? The part where we stop being spectators and have to pick our next move. Me. I keep replaying the sound of that badge hitting concrete, the little bright ring that said, pay attention. Not because power deserved an apology, but because dignity refused to kneel for a costume. That ring's been following me around ever since. Makes me look twice at my own quick judgments, how fast I reach for the story I've already decided to believe. Makes me wonder if the quiet choices, the ones that don't go viral, aren't the real places where justice lives. You were there with me in a way right up close, holding your breath while a morning decided what it was going to be. So tell me this and be honest. Where do you land? Was Reed right to let it go? Should heart face more than a lesson in a long night of thinking? Have you ever watched a scene tilt the wrong way because somebody mistook a uniform for being right or a skin tone for being wrong? Drop your take in the comments. What's justice here? What's mercy? And what would you have done if it were your hand on those cuffs or your silence that could have stopped them?